Hello and welcome. This video and those that will follow it are for people that are also disillusioned with modern life and are worried and uncertain about the future and are looking not only for a way to realistically prepare for it, but to effect a truly better life in its stead. Whether you're concerned about the environment, our political situation, or really just want to survive, I believe the best way to improve our current situation and also prepare yourself if things go south is to start sourcing the things you need to survive as sustainably and close to you as possible. No one knows for sure when fossil fuels will run out, or how bad the effects of climate change will end up being. And it may be true that we're barreling towards a systemic collapse or our own extinction, but it's no secret as to why we're in such a terrible existential dilemma. We live unsustainably. All this stuff is built on a carbon bubble, and at some point within the next 100 years, if not sooner, it's probably going to burst, and it won't be pretty when it does. If we are to survive the future and avert this catastrophe, we must start securing all of our needs locally and sustainably. And the sooner that individuals and communities start taking action in this direction, the more certain it becomes that they'll survive a potential collapse, and the less certain it becomes that things will collapse at all. What I'm really trying to illuminate is what I view as a modern hero story, where the goal is to become completely independent of fossil fuels, and the dragon to be slain is your personal reliance on all of the unsustainable trappings of modern society that are very rapidly destroying the planet. And to be clear, we should be trying to avoid the collapse of Western civilization. The idea that things would be better off collapsing so that we can somehow restart has become a popular one as of late, but the odds of things improving in the event of a sudden collapse are very low. No one can deny that it's bad to let things carry on as they are, and you could make the argument that every day our impact on the environment grows even more despicable, or that there's a whole crooked system of oppression and corruption that just needs to be done away with. But it would be much, much worse for everyone if our current world order spontaneously collapsed. There are certainly an endless number of reasons for despair at the present moment, but there's no excuse for nihilism, because it really isn't hopeless yet. We've already got a good thing going in the US and many other Western countries in terms of the structure of our society. Only I think if somehow we could get the majority of Americans to eat locally and live in sustainably sourced housing, we could drastically lengthen the amount of time we have to get everything else figured out. And at the very least, I've got to hope for something. And this is the only thing I could think of to work towards to brace against the tragedy of our time, and that would realistically de-escalate our current existential position. In the event of something like a global third world war over resources, virtually no one will be safe. An event that chaotic would leave millions dead as the best case scenario, and the complete extinction of humanity as the worst. And because there's that level of uncertainty, we should be working our absolute hardest to reform our current system at the grassroots level, and prevent that from happening, rather than waiting for its collapse, or worse, trying to accelerate it. It should be clear to everyone that nothing is preventing a repeat of the horrors of the 20th century on a global scale if we don't adapt our lifestyle. And currently, this is the future that we seem to be accelerating towards in this century. If the governments of the US or other Western countries were to fall or become unstable, what would most likely replace them are extremist totalitarian states, just judging from what happened in the 20th century. And I think people really underestimate how much the alt-right is already anticipating and trying to accelerate a destabilizing event. Do you really want to wait around to see if things will collapse or not, or do you want to start living the solution? I've thought a lot recently about how in the world I'm going to bear another 50 years on this planet, and given the crushing weight of our current existential position, I certainly can't blame anyone for not wanting to think about it. But we must face and overcome this challenge of our inflated lifestyle. We now stand at the top of a mountain of human achievement. We cannot go backwards into a limited feudal lifestyle, nor can we allow ourselves to topple over into tyranny and chaos. We must invent a new way of life that combines our modern technology with ancient wisdom to take flight into the full capacity of our being. If we do not step into the light now, we are at risk of falling into a darkness from which we may never recover. I hope no one watching is under the illusion that a systemic collapse will somehow fix things, or that the status quo will be effectively changed by either the governments or the corporations of the world. And so I urge you that if you really love yourself, if you're not willing to sit back and enjoy life while watching the planet burn, if you feel a calling to do what's right for your community and the planet, then take an honest stock of your abilities and start taking action in your own life and community. Do what I did and drop out of college to learn a skilled trade. Learn to fish and hunt, start a garden for you and your neighbors, lease your own land and raise cattle, and find out where people near you are already living in a sustainable way. Your life just might depend on it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, try and think things through.